situation. The woman with hemorrhoids. She did not climb a tree. She ran and shoved and pushed her way through the press of the bodies in the crowd in order to reach Jesus. Without a word, she dropped to her knees and touched the hem of his garment. She was thinking, out of all these people, it's gonna be me. She didn't care what anybody else thought of her right then. She had served her time. She had to connect with Jesus. What if she didn't have those problems in the first place? Of course, she would not connect with the Lord. She would have missed Jesus too. Sometimes, you have to go through seasons when you're living in God's nothing. It's so you will seek Him with passionate desperation. When you are down to nothing, God really is up to something. Your problem could be the key to your promotion. Without Goliath, who will David be? A nobody. The challenge of Goliath. David never called Goliath a giant but an uncircumcised Philistine. The focus was that Goliath was smaller than God. David was declaring God to be the bigger in this situation. So what is your Goliath? What's your greatest obstacle? In order for you to step into your destiny, you will need to face down the Goliath-sized problems. Believing that you can do it is more than half of the battle already. Without our liabilities, most of us would just settle for the status quo. We never exert ourselves to move up and to hold on to God's provisions. The story of the lepers. The 4 lepers live outside the city wall of Samaria. Since they are contaminated with leprosy, people would throw food scraps over the wall in order to feed them. The lepers would have sat there for years, content with the scraps, until one day, the king of Syria besieged the city and the people began to starve to death. No more food. Their stomach was growling. The lepers decided to go into the enemy's camp. If they got killed, what's the difference? A famine would have helped you make a destiny decision. They need to be motivated to leave behind the land of famine and walk into the place of plenty. In other words, they walk by faith, not by sight. When they got at the ends of the camp, what did they find? Nobody. Those Syrians had thought they heard the sound of an army coming. They had left everything, food, clothing, everything, and they had fled. Those lepers expected a barrage of arrows, but instead the bigger foe turned out to be what is inside of them. The circumstances have never been our real problem. God is always greater than anything out there. The real problem has always been the battles inside our minds and hearts. You know from experience that that's the truth. That is why you must believe that you can. Our liabilities are not physical ones, but lack of faith and lack of perseverance. It can sometimes take years before we see results. We need to hold on to our vision through all sorts of setbacks and believe in the God who believes in us. He will every time if we hang on to Him. Your seemingly insurmountable problems can become launching platforms for faith. Sometimes you must go through seasons when you're living in God's nothing, so you will seek Him with passionate desperation. Make a positive confession today. Calvary is not your final destiny. There is learning behind the suffering, strength behind the problem. There is growth beyond the challenge, life beyond the cross. Believe and persevere.